yeah, nah, man, this is how we feel because we were actually the avatar for the ally. We grew up looking up to black people, black artists, black having black friends. And then when everything went down, we were told we were so we're gonna be racist. We're gonna be racist. For real. And let's stop acting like I'm seeing this pushback against the pushback. I think a lot of what you described has been an overcorrection by the Kindys, by the D'Angelos.
In all directions. Yeah.
And now what I'm seeing is I'm seeing white men, younger white men, who grew up looking up to black people.
Okay.
And were the avatar for the ally. Okay. But we're told they're racist.
Interesting.
And now they're like, well, being racist is based, bro.
Okay.
And this, like, my buddy Redeem Zoomer put up a tweet and said, being actually racist is not based. And to see the vitriol, he's a Jewish Christian, not a Zionist in the least, by the way. Like, like not with the state of Israel, which is a whole nother can of worms. We don't have to get into that. Me and him disagree on that. And he puts this thing up like being racist isn't, being actually racist isn't based at all.
Yeah.
Right. And bro, the vitriol of the comment section on X of white dudes that were like, yeah, nah, man, this is how we feel because we were actually the avatar for the ally. We grew up looking up to black people, black artists, black having black friends. And then when everything went down, we were told we were so we're gonna be racist. We're gonna be racist. For real. And let's stop acting like these differences don't exist. And and again, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're doing the same thing. We're taking a hyper generalized view of white folks, black folks, this, that. And then we're using this broad stroke to hyper generalize people. And it's not helpful. So you're seeing it now with young white men who are like, I'm like, what? What are we doing?
Yeah, they're overreacting.
You know, they're
against the overreaction.
And so then what happens is, what do? They then take the fringe aspects of black culture that just so happens to be pervasive in media, right?
Yeah.
The sexy reds, the drill rap scene, the actual like poisonous, destructive stuff that everyone should be okay with saying, but perhaps because I'm white and I'm not of the culture, I can't critique drill music or whatever.
Okay.
Right? Okay, fine. But everyone should be able to say sexy red's poison. Yeah. This is poison, right? What Drake has promoted, poison.
Yep.
Future, poison. We should be able to say that. But what they do is they take that, they hold on to that and perhaps a lack of rightful pushback against that from the BET award shows, from the culture. They take that and then they use that to then broad stroke paint all black people and think this is black culture. And it's like, no. This is not black culture. In the same way that the biker gangs who smuggle, who run and guns does not make up white culture. Now, what percentage of black people commit crimes versus what? I don't have that data.
It's a subculture. It's a subset.
It's a subset of a subset, right? So what's happening in parts of Chicago, what's happening in Jacksonville, what's happening in these impoverished areas is not indicative of black culture, as if black culture is even a monolith. Because Caribbean black folks are going to be different than folks from the South. Folks from the South are going to be different than folks from Los Angeles, right? And so I think that's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm like, oh man, this is getting bad, you know?
So keep going. Like, what do you think is how do you bring healing? Again, let's be church people. Mm-hmm. Let's be Christian people in these conversations. How do you bring healing to that? Or how do you, the overcorrection to the overcorrection? Sure. Let's say you have access to these dudes. Yeah. What are you saying to them?
Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if they're even going to listen to me.
Okay.
Because I got a black wife. So I'm already on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like straight up.
Okay.
I think what I would say to them, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is I would say, yeah, bro, some of this stuff's been hijacked. Like, you can't say punctuality is white supremacy.
Right.
You can't say work ethic is white supremacy.
Yeah.
What are you doing, folks on the left? You guys sound stupid.
Yeah.
Right? You can't try to deconstruct everything to the point where there shouldn't be private property rights.
Yeah.
And and you can't the means of production can't be owned by the people who are creating the thing.
Okay.
I know Christians that have went all the way on that end. Like, they're full-on Marxist communists.
And I don't get too much of that, just so you know.
Oh, I get it. I get it. I got into an argument with someone because I said the Bible presupposes private property rights. They said, no, it doesn't. Private property rights came as a byproduct of capitalism. No, it doesn't. Go to Ethiopia, fam.
Okay.
Go to the oldest Christian nation. They have private property rights. The Bible presupposes property. No. Marx good, Bible bad, right? And so I've seen people fully deconvert to like, what are we even talking about, right?
Okay.
And so, so what I'm saying is, there are people who are rightfully upset because they've been told everything is racist. Yes. Punctuality is racist. Hard work ethic is racist. And I'm not making this up. This is actually stuff that came out from the left.
I've seen some of that.
Right. And so then if everything is racist, then nothing's racist.
Right.
Then I'm going to sit here and I'm going to drop the N-word unironically on X and be edgy. And I go, wait a minute. So I think you have to acknowledge that, yes, some of this stuff from that's came out is poison. And some of this stuff to hyper generalize white folks is bad. And I think if you can, in my opinion, if you could start there, then perhaps you can reel them back into reality and say, but let's not pretend that we don't have a racial history. Okay, fine. Perhaps that's not exclusive to America. Fair enough. Perhaps slavery is not exclusive to America. Okay, maybe chattel slavery is unique. But so I think like when I look at what's going on, I'm not looking at like injustice or bad things happening and looking at it from a modern Western lens and then looking back in history. I'm going like, the world in its natural state is chaotic.
Yes.
The world's bad. What's happened here is bad. But it's not that much different from the rest of history. Now, again, maybe chattel slavery is different, but this has always been in taking people as slaves and doing really awful things to neighbors. From the beginning. Yep. So I think what happens is people on the left borrow from God, even the objective of morality and like, how did you come to the conclusion that owning someone else is wrong if you're not borrowing from man is created in the image of God, right? So they're borrowing and then they're looking at it from a very modern Western lens and trying to look at the world history through rose-colored glasses instead of acknowledging that, bro, we shouldn't be wondering why there's chaos and injustice and evil. We should be looking at places where there's less chaos and injustice and evil and saying, what is it about this system that, okay, granted, America's not perfect, but people are literally dying to come here right now and would trade places with anyone, including people in the hood, to just be in here to have access to opportunity. Perhaps we've done some things right as well. Yeah. Perhaps there's something here.
Blowing the whole thing up is not the answer.
Yes. Yeah. But that's the conclusion. I know. A lot of the stuff is like, we got to disrupt capitalism and destroy the system and burn it all down. And it's like, I don't think you guys really want that. Yeah.
You know what's happened with me, Ruslan, and just literally in the last 10 years, I was thinking about this as I was walking on the beach yesterday, and this is going to sound so cynical, and people crush me because they think I'm saying don't vote, don't be involved. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. But what's hit me in the freshest of ways is just how there is no secular solution to the brokenness of the world. Nope. Now, that's VBS, right? That's so low shelf Christianity, but I think it's actually easy, though, sometimes when you're in the world we're in, where it's a world of ideas, lots of debate, discussion, trying to figure things out, looking at secular politics and just trying to figure out what's the best way of organizing ourselves, which I'm all about that. Like, that's what my whole PhD was in. I love it. American culture studies. I love it. But I need to keep reminding myself that there is no answer under the sun apart from Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? And we haven't said that this whole time. Here's another thing that hasn't been said that I've been thinking about a lot. And it seems so obvious, but it needs to be said. It's a demonic stronghold, man. All good things that come from God, Satan, our spiritual enemy, is distorting. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy, right? That's what Jesus said. I've come that you might have life and might have it abundantly. But the spiritual enemy is trying to kill, steal, and destroy. Amen. And so one of the most fundamental good things that God has created is humans created in the imago Dei, created in the image of God, right? Amen. So it makes sense that throughout world history, you're going to see treacherous, heinous, unjust, oppressive, defacing of that because of spiritual realities. You know what I mean? And I think we probably don't even talk about that enough. Again, I don't know what you do or don't do. In my own circles, I don't think we talk about that enough. It's spiritual warfare. Yes. The enemy is not flesh and blood, right? It's just some of these just fundamental Christian teachings about the spiritual world. Yeah. And that's what's going on with these overcorrections, right? There's real fear. There's real ignorance. There's real getting my feelings hurt and my pride hurt. There's real threats to my security and my sense of who I am. Like all that stuff is going on both of these sides. And what I want to get better at, still, like I want to keep being able to do this better, is to slow myself down and refrain from judging people, because I got thoughts. Yeah. Right? I got thoughts. But refrain from judging what's coming out of their mouth and try to be a minister. Like, again, just basic language, right? Try to be a minister that listens well, that really tries to understand why they're coming from where they're coming from. Just even like you just did. Like you just gave a great apologetic for how these dudes overcorrect to the overcorrection and where it comes from. But listen to that and love them. And as God gives me opportunity to, again, if I have time to be with these people, try to diffuse the angst and the anger and whatnot, right? Get up underneath that by empathizing with it, which again, these are words that have fallen on hard times now, right? Like they're bad words.
Yeah.
Now I need to empathize with that and live in it with them a little bit. And bring them to Jesus, who does the healing, and help them see that them folks on the other side are not the enemy. They're struggling with their own issues in their own ways. Amen. So let's back off that a little bit, right?
Yes.
And let's get separated from all the political rhetoric that maybe you're getting too caught up in. Again, we're talking to Christians.
Sure.
Let's assume that.
Sure.
Okay? Because it's going to look different maybe with people outside that fold. And see if we can be agents of healing, man.
Amen.
You
I
know?
love that. I love that. Yeah, I think ultimately that's the North Star. You know what I mean? Is Jesus pointing people towards healing, pointing people towards reconciliation, without trying to create, a utopia of sorts. You know what I mean? That's like it's not going to be perfect on this side of eternity, unfortunately. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the church is a beautiful mosaic, and that's been more or less my experience. Like I came out of a very ethnic church background, Armenian Apostolic. Okay. And I brought my black friend to Armenian Apostolic Church, and it was awkward. It was weird. You know what I mean? And now you see, the Greek Orthodox, and there's some of that, and there you got the Catholics and a strong connection to Rome and Italy, and you got Ethiopian Orthodox, and you have these like separations. But when I came to faith, it was a multicultural church. My pastor was black. He was married to a white woman, and it was I would say probably predominantly 60% white, and then Mexican and black. It was a very multicultural church. So my introduction to faith, as I know it as a teenager, has always been that. And then I was at a church plant for 20 years that similar. It was initially like punk rock church, and then as it grew and evolved, it became more and more diverse. Same thing. Pastor's white, wife is black. So these always have been my realities. Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
even today, let me finish that. Like even today, I go to Rhythm Church in Northside, amazing church. I don't know, 20% of the staff is black. You know what I mean? You got Hispanic folks. Like you have a multicultural, you got women on staff, right? So it's like these are the overflows of who we are. We're not trying to like, well, we need a black guy on staff. Like it just is. Like this is the overflow. And so when this is who you really are, you don't need to do the DEI thing. You don't need to do these things. Right on. You know what I mean? Like it's just your reality is this. Guys, we're going to go over to our Patreon exclusive section, talk a little bit more with Ed. I want to talk to him about his conversation with our friend Tim from the New Evangelicals, some of the stuff that was said there, and kind of get his take on how this stuff is impacting critical race theory to queer theory and some of the craziness that's been happening in society. So meet us over on Patreon. Conversation's gonna be a little too spicy for you two. We'll see you over there, all right?
He's allowed to be in the girls' bathroom if he's claiming to be transgender. Legally right now in Ohio, we can't do anything directly about that. Whether the Christians or the non-Christians involved, I don't think they cared all that much about this human being. They were just working their ideology out in front of everybody. Now, how do you protest? When do you protest? What's the spirit of the protest?
How do you not know and understand that like puberty blockers are not a good idea? So these people are upset under Roman occupation over a 2% tax rate. You know what the effective tax rate is in California and New York if you make a lot of money?
Ruslan